this morning we are going to find the right lesson. Making objects good and evil. Sounds more exciting than it is. Sorry to say. We do the things and throw the link where it belongs. Okay, so I put a link to the lesson into Slack if you are interested in following along. So we did a little bit of this yesterday, like Andy said. We're going to be storing properties and variables. We're going to be triggering an event in our quest. And then we're going to be thinking about other versions or other areas of accessibility in the games. So first up, nothing in your game is inherently good or evil, right? Like that's not coded into the bricks. That's not a thing. So what we're talking about here is really making it, I've lost my own screen. There it is. What we're talking about is how do you code the good guy versus the bad guy, or the quest giver versus your player, and those kinds of things, so that the actions that you want to have happen, my house is apparently falling down, show up in your game. So it says for our warm-up, we are going to think about how do we keep track of extra information. So where does extra information go? What do we need to know in our games? How do our games work? What are we thinking? I don't know if that was really a question, but what do you think? Other information besides this is a player I've put on the screen. Where does that live? How does that get stored? What do we think? Coffee. We all need more coffee this morning. Good morning.
In variables, everything lives in memory.
Everything lives in a variable of some kind, correct? So we have our 4 primitive variables, right? That was the integer, number, text, and Boolean. And then we have the variables that are the different objects, which we've started doing a little bit of yesterday when we had the vector 3 and then named it a vector right there at the end of the day. Trying to think of some of the other objects we made. And they're, of course, escaping me because I haven't had 2 cups of coffee like Andy yet this morning. Oh, well, even when we did item 3Ds. So the different, saving our player as the player, saving the NPC as the NPC, right? That was creating the object, that was creating the variable. We saved that information in. Does that make sense to everybody? You good on that idea? No crying and screaming on the screen, so I'm going with yes. So our main task then, moving on the lesson, is going to be using what we know so far. And if you were still cognizant at the end of the day when Andy was talking about collisions and measuring the distance between the 2 objects, that's really what we're going to look at here for this collision, for having your player walk up to the NPC and start the quest. That's the step we're on. So we want to add a key. And the idea is the Q key, because quest or question. You can pick whatever key you would like, obviously. When that key is pressed, grab the location of the player, grab the location of the NPC, calculate that distance, and then decide, are you close enough to start this quest? So we don't necessarily want to be able to just push Q right at the start and start the quest, right? You want your character to walk around a little bit first. So you get to decide how close is close enough, okay? And then if it is close enough, trigger that it says something as an output statement. And when that happens, also make those quest items show back up on the screen. And we talked about the action for that yesterday as well. It's that super easy barrel colon show, open close parenthesis, right? So how would we like to start this out? Do we want me to start coding? Do you guys want to play a little bit and see if you can figure it out based on what you did yesterday?
I'd like to watch you code and walk through it with you.
Thanks, Andrew. Means I have to remember how to do it all. Adam, I don't need your lip either, dude. Nope, don't need your help. Okay. Excellent. So what I have loaded, just for simplicity of showing everyone for the game, right? We need to do whole screen so that when we run it, it actually shows up for everybody. I need to shrink people. Hang on. Zoom is being zoomed. And my house is falling down. Sorry.
Amanda, while you're doing that, Amanda,
yes.
while you're doing that, what should we be pulling up to help us best follow along with you? Because I find it's kind of hard for me to kind of figure out sometimes where you guys are. Should I go create a new project? Or
You just don't want to create a new project. We're actually modifying the game you currently have.
Okay.
What I am pulling up is the end of yesterday. So I went into that EPIQ folder that is our answer sheets, right? And I've pulled up the file that's called placing objects because that's the end of yesterday's activities.
Okay, so we should go try and look for that.
Yeah, if you want like a starting point that has everything you need beforehand, that's a perfect file to pull up. If you want to continue on with your own game file, that's also fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So I have, I'm just opening the files here real fast, guys, so that I can toggle between them a little easier. Great. So I have both the main.quorum, so the code page from, like I said, close. There's a little less on the side there, confuse me. So the file I have open is basically the end of what Andy did yesterday. Okay, it has, if I check out the scene, it make a light. There's the barrels. So the barrels are in a slightly different place than what Andy actually placed yesterday because this is a saved file. So instead of the barrels being in front of the castle with the Stargate, my barrels are off to the right in front of the table that was there, to the right of the, I don't know, what are we calling that other building? Stable? An inn? I don't know what it is. Okay. So that's the screen I have open. And if you go to the main.quorum file, we have, they're called blue potions, even though they're barrels. On mine, that's fine. Last year's game used potion bottles, that's why that's still there. The tag that Andy found yesterday for why his physics wasn't working, I don't know if everybody saw that in Slack, is in action create game. You need to make sure you have enable physics 3D with the parameter of true inside the parentheses. So the capital E, capital P, and then capital D for 3D. That was the line of code we were missing yesterday to make barrels go flying when you ran into them because physics wasn't turned on, so physics wasn't working, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Now I am going to move on down to our action pressed key. Okay, Now, my key presses are all set up using the vector 3 for movement. So I am using physics for movement for my character at the moment. Doesn't matter a whole lot at this exact point which one you have. Oh, nope, that's a lie. You're going to want the vector 3 so that we can find the distances a little bit easier. Okay, so does everybody see or everybody understand where I'm currently going to be coding at? It's in the pressed key action. Is my code large enough for everyone to see on the screen? Is the other thing here. I can make it a little bit bigger. Is that better, Mike?
Yeah, sorry, I'm at home today, so I only got the one monitor on my laptop, and it's like itty bitty. That's
How
perfect.
about that? Is that a little bit better?
Yeah,
Excellent.
I apologize if anybody else it's like blowing up your screen, but
No, that's good.
Great. Yeah, anything like that, guys, obviously yell at me because I can't tell what you guys have on your side. I don't know who else is still in here. Is there William in here? William, I missed the ability to change my own font. I'm just saying.
I respect that. That's the sort of thing that, as with many things, we really like to have that, but it's just always a matter of getting other things done.
I know.
Always have priorities.
I know. But when I hit Control Plus, it enlarges both menus, and I don't like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Because for me, when I was using sod beans, it really bugged me that I could zoom in on the editor, but then the tree would remain tiny, and I couldn't see it.
Are we able to move the size of tree? Like, can I?
That's something that.
Smaller?
No.
Okay.
Long story short, no. Also, would
Okay.
really like to do that because that really bugs me. But priorities again.
Okay, cool. Just checking so that I can make stuff set up right for everybody else.
Yep.
Okay, so I am in. Does anybody need the chunk of? Yes, your player might float away. Mine fell through the floor a couple of times. You need to make sure your floor has physics enabled and is unmovable. Is that what we need? Unmovable, probably.
I'm going to step in and ask a question. I have my
Yes.
working code from last night. What I'm seeing on your screen doesn't correspond with it. I must have copied Andy's. Are you using a different template?
I am using the template that is the answer key from yesterday.
Oh, okay.
This is using the physics to move your person, and I don't think we got the person movement transferred into physics yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
With
So,
trying to get physics
I'll
to
go and
work
look.
on the barrels.
I'll go look for that wherever that's hiding at.
Well,
So
I could
you
just
look at
copy
that.
this into Slack.
Well, that would be a really cool thing.
Let's just copy this little bit into Slack. Whoops, not set breakpoint. I do it a lot.
Take those, yeah.
I hate breakpoints.
Amanda, that was actually the kind of things I was trying to ask Andy last night.
So once I copy this into Slack, let's just take a minute and walk through this code too, so everybody understands after I am able to copy the code. Good morning.
What does this part do again? Sorry.
This is player movement.
Oh,
Action key press. Okay.
Yes, and you should be in your action key press. So this is the entirety of inside my pressed key. I'm sorry, it's pressed key, not key press. Key press will not work. So that is all inside that action. And let's walk through it then, okay?
Pressed key.
Yes. Pressed key and released key are specific actions that exist in Quorum to make everything else you write inside correct. So for your keyboard to work, you have to use those two very specifically worded actions. Does that make sense to everybody? William, can you help Daniel by chance? Or since Quorum just bit the dust on him. So the first line of code here, integer code equals event colon key code. That is just saving what key was pressed into that variable of code, the word code for us. And I think William talked about that a couple of days ago for when we started using our movement, okay? Then we're gonna come down here, we're gonna declare a vector. Vector 3, Andy talked about yesterday, it's just 3 numbers. In this case, it is X, Y, and Z for us, right? We have an arbitrary number here. Number amount equals 20. This is just the amount of force that is going to be applied to the person when you push the key. Because if you think about the fact that we're using physics instead of moving an increment on the screen, okay, you're actually going to be pushing your character one way or the other, or your ship, or whatever is triggering on this event, okay? 20 works pretty well. I don't know if there was actual math behind it or if, you know, William sat around and did guess and trick. I've been playing with mine. 20 is a pretty good kind of speed amount of force, okay? Now we have our keys set up, which we already had. The only thing you need to replace is what happens when you push the key, okay? So if code equals event colon up, so again, that's when I push that up arrow. We now have V, which is my vector 3, colon set Z, open paren, amount, close paren. So this is going to set the Z coordinate on my, I got you here, it goes right under your gravity. That bit of code I just threw into Slack goes in create game to set gravity. So for V colon set Z amount, that's going to positively push Z with a force of 20. Okay, and then for our down, we have negative amount. You can do that. You put the negative sign in front of the word for a variable and it would make it negative 20. And so that would be pushing them backwards, right? We then have left and right, which are setting X's, a positive and negative amount. And then we added a space bar here, which sets your Y. And what is Y going to do if I hit the space bar and I'm changing the Y coordinate on my character?
He's going to jump.
It lets you jump.
And hopefully not fly away.
No, if you have gravity set, you won't fly away. He does a cute little bounce. And if
Mine does a helicopter spin.
You don't rotate.
Yeah.
Set for your player. If you do don't rotate, he won't spin. It does compound. So if you button mash, your guy will raise up in the air. Okay, all of these forces will compound if you button mash.
But will he fall down?
If your ground is set as unmovable, when you hit the ground, you stop. Now, I have a smaller platform for my person. So I have very often gone left, right, forward, and back off my platform and then dropped to infinity. I have fallen off of the end of the world in the game that I am writing. You can also button mash up and then move front or back, and he will kind of jump in that direction, right? All of those things work.
But wait a minute, in the source code on GitHub, wasn't there a comment around these parts that this does not sort of take the physics engine into account or something?
So this is the next one where it is using the physics. The one we're talking about right now
Okay.
is using the physics. Yes.
Okay, so you're just setting the amount in a vector, right?
The amount of force in a vector. Yep. And then the most important part after I end that if is you then have to apply the force to center on player. So player, apply force to center, capital AFTC, open paren V, because that's my variable for the vector 3 we have, close paren.
Shouldn't you do that inside the if?
It is no, because it's inside the action about the key press.
Correct. So in the action of the key press, let's say you press the up arrow key, you then set the coordinate, and then in the same block, you change the player position. The reason I say that is because suppose, let's say you have a hotkey to tell you the player's position. You don't want the position changing. So when you press, if you have your player outside the if constructs, as a single line, whichever key you hit, irrespective of the function, you'll have the player change position.
Only if that key changes your vector.
True.
If I hit enter right now in my game, nothing will happen because nothing registers that key. Code would become whatever the code for enter, but I have nothing else set up to recognize enter, so nothing else will change.
Okay.
Because vector V is only being applied to my player.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that would work the same way, the way you're saying it too. I only have to write one line of code instead of copying it into all 5. I'm pretty sure both answers will work. This lets you write it once instead of 5 times.
Yeah, which is good.
Yep. Getting cannot locate a type named vector 3. So when you typed in vector 3, did it give you a little yellow box saying you needed a library by chance? If I come down here, I've commented out my library and I get a little yellow box or a hint or a whatever when I've typed in vector 3 space V. So if I hit Alt Enter, it will put that library in again for me. And of course, my code was already there. That's why I already had the library the first time. So probably you're missing this library. So if it won't auto do it for you, it is use, lowercase u, excellent, space libraries.compute.vector3, L, C, and V are all capitalized for anybody else who might need that information. So now I'm going to run the game just so we can see how this works with our physics-enabled person running around the screen and to make sure I haven't accidentally messed anything up in the meantime. As you do. So I've pushed up, my character is slowly button jamming and he's flying towards that castle. Woo! Too much, come back, come back. He has flown away towards the castle. Now he's coming back to me. Too much, too much. Uh-oh, I might have lost him. There he is. Excellent. Go to the right. You see he's kind of going diagonally because he still had some of that forward and backwards force as I was going left and right. Pretty sure I can crash through a wall over here. So yes, my character moves around. With force, with physics, it's physics. So object in motion will stay in motion, which is where you might want to add friction to either your player or your ground, depending on how accurate you need your player to run around the screen. Does that make sense to everybody?
So Amanda, once
Yes,
that,
Co.
yeah, once that linear velocity is applied to the object, it keeps the momentum, so to speak. And even if you dump that linear velocity with the released key, it just keeps going. You know, like you create a action released key, and then basically set the velocity to 0 on all direction. And I'm assuming that's still, you know, the object still keeps moving. We kind of had a same kind of a,
My brain says it should stop, but I know I've tried it and it didn't stop. I think you have to set negative velocity to correct.
yeah, that's what I saw.
So if I have, William has unmuted. William, correct.
I was actually, I didn't get in to hear the entire question, so I can help with that in a moment. But I was actually just going to interrupt real quick. Daniel, if you want to head into the breakout room now, Stefan can help you out.
The question was,
we've got it moving, and if I've button jammed, he flies off my screen. How can I make him stop?
Oh,
Physics.
That's funny.
Because zeroing it out didn't work.
But you try and apply a force of 0 to it, and that doesn't do anything. If you want him to stop, without looking more closely at the code and seeing everything that's going on, I believe that you want to do set velocity and set velocity to 0.
Set velocity instead of set force. Got it.
Because when you have a force, that's just saying there is a push. If there's a push of 0 strength, then I haven't touched it at all, basically. But the velocity is a measure of how fast it's traveling. So if you set that, it should stop it.
Co, if you want to play with that and report back.
okay, gotcha.
That would be awesome.
We'll do it.
So we all understand how physics is working to move our character now. Did I do okay on explaining all of that? Your player is struggling to move now. Uh-oh. Do you want to share screen or share your code and we can kind of see what's going on? I can get my stop sharing. Andrew's player isn't moving at all. All right.
Pretty clean.
If you hold it down, it slows down. Interesting. Andrew, yours isn't moving at all. Do you want to share screen or share code or something?
So I'm trying to Frankenstein my game by taking the code from the answer keys that you all gave us. So I'm probably getting some variable wrong or something like that.
Yeah, that's one of the most common. And I had to tap a couple of times to get mine to move sometimes. Again, it's that idea of force. Check out your code real fast. Ooh, we're picking up carrots in your game. We're gonna make a soup. Visit.
I'm thinking more like Minecraft, where you kind of collect things.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, I think mine is gonna chop down some trees. So
Daniel, I don't know if you're there or not, but if you have time and want to jump to a breakout.
I get it around ×5. Okay, you've got your Q, which shouldn't be messing anything up. Oh, you don't set. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this sounds weird, Andrew, but something is unhappy because player isn't green at the bottom. This is how I know this. So let's look at your code again. Else if then Q. And player. I'm actually not seeing an error in that action. Here's the dumb question. Is player? Yes, okay. Cool. Player. I am not seeing the error in your code, which doesn't mean a whole lot of beans. Maybe if William, he threw some code into Slack. If you want to give it a run through to see why his might not be responding.
Sure, I can help with that.
Excellent. I'm not automatically seeing, so that, second pair of eyes might be great.
Yeah, of course. And this is something that having multiple people looking and working on the same piece of code is very common for writing software.
Okay. So while we're doing that for Andrew, let's go ahead and code in our Q key for giving our quest. Okay. So I have my else if statement that is code equals event : space v : set y paren amount times 5 close paren. I'm going to add another else if here. And this time code is going to equal event : Q. Right, I'm just going to add my Q key. And now, how are we going to check that our person is close enough to the quest giver? How do we write that code? How do we check those things? How do we check this? Any ideas? You can cheat and you can look at what Andrew threw in Slack.
There's a distance function in Vector 3D, I think.
There is a distance function. You are correct. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I, for the life of me, cannot remember the entire function, and I'm going to look up the answer real fast. So bear with me while I cheat, or use my resources wisely, as we say to our students. Get back here. Okay, so we are going to make a number variable called distance. That makes sense to me, yeah? And then, let's go back to the right one here. say number distance equals. And now I'm going to use my my vector 3 that I already have. I'm going to say v colon. And then as Pranav said, there's a distance. Oops, I did the capital D. I need lowercase v. Oh, there is a distance function, a distance action in the vector 3 library. Okay. And I have red line. I'm assuming it's because my parameters aren't correct yet. Okay. So what can we fill in for our parameters here? To compare the distance between my NPC and my player.
You need your player and you need the NPC.
Mhm.
But what I don't know is which NPC you need. That's what I can't figure out here.
I only have one NPC that I'm interacting with on my screen, but it's a great question. It's who is the first person or who is this one checking for? And you would use that specific specific character's name. Does that make sense?
Yeah, though what I would want to do, not exactly for this game, but for the one I'm writing is whatever is the closest non-playing thing is what I want to be told to. So if I'm about to collide with it, it should tell me distance 1 or whatever else. I don't.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to think of, and I do not know the instant answer for that set of code. I know you can do it, and I know that in 2D, we worked on it a little bit last year in the advanced track, and I assume it translates similarly to 3D, but I do not know how to make that code work. That would be I'd say somebody smarter than me.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry,
Go for it, Pranav.
The question,
yeah.
William, is suppose I have a player. I want to know what is the closest distance to the object in front of me, or what's the closest thing I'm going to bang into if I continue in the same direction. I think I had sort of done this last year, but I seem to have lost that code.
I recall you did end up doing something similar.
Yes.
I think that the most obvious way to me to do this would be to store an array somewhere that contains the things you care about knowing about, because you don't want to do it for every possible thing in the game. You don't want to, how far away am I from every single ground tile and every single brick of, different things. But if you have an array somewhere where you can store the things you care about knowing how close you are to, then you can write some code that, depending on how you want to activate it, maybe it's on key press, or maybe you do this in some other way that feels relevant to you. The most obvious to me is a key press, but whenever you run the code, get the loop, get the array and then loop over all of the elements in it, and then figure out using this same thing you're doing right now with the vector to calculate its distance, do that on each of those in the array, and then find whichever distance is the smallest, store that one, and then report that one.
Got it, because that's what I was wondering how I'd done it. And now, yep, you're right. I did have an array of mushrooms at that point of time.
Thank you. That's right. I remember now.
Yep, got it.
So if I can interrupt for just 1 second.
Go for it.
I did just get some news. As of 10 minutes ago, the Quorum team just won another $1 million to support the idea of creating a block language that is accessible in the browser, which I hope for a lot of folks that have had some trouble with like installers and some of the stuff on desktop, will add blocks to Quorum and it'll put it online. officially. The National Science Foundation, I learned literally just now as we were in the meeting that we just funded this project. So that's
That
all.
is awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Please carry on.
How dare you interrupt my lesson for such news?
I know, right? So I know that many
God,
people, I should probably
so
thank
rude.
especially Gina Fugate, who has pushed us for quite a while to try to get blocks into Quorum, has really pushed me to think through all the details. So I should probably thank her the most. I wouldn't have probably written the proposal if she hadn't pushed it. So that's why I did it. Anyway.
She doesn't need a bigger head. Come on now.
Oh, she does.
I love you, Gina. Don't take it out on me this year. Please, please, please.
Thanks for your help, Gina.
For those of you who don't know, Gina and I are crazy, and we are piloting a virtual blind school this next year using the AP CSP curriculum. So she and I are co-teaching literally East Coast versus West Coast with kids in 4 different states asynchronously the AP CSP course. So either we will be the best of friends at the end of this year, or we will have imploded and absolutely despise each other. That's the choices at this point in time. So, and none of it was by choice. It was totally by admin volunteering us that we're going to be doing this thing. So I like to give Gina a little bit. All right, we have the distance between these two items. Now what? And this action was a little less intuitive than I actually expected. So after distance, you literally just fill in player : get X, open close parenthesis, comma, player : get Y, open close parenthesis, comma, player : get Z. And then you do the same thing for your NPC, all in one nice straight line. Okay? I have the distance between my two objects. Now what do I need to do?
Decide if it's a collision.
Right? Steve, what were you going to say?
I hit Carol too.
Make an if statement that if it's below a certain amount to interact.
Yeah. So the directions say to create a variable to hold your distance that you want, but you could also just kind of hard code it into your if statement, right? But let's go ahead and say a number. We're going to call it max distance.
I hit barrel 1.
Somebody's running into barrels. So I missed something just now. Key presses. They're a while key press. So that's a great question. I don't know if we have any kind of while key pressed.
There is a way to do that, and it will result in your movement feeling a little different than the way you're doing it right now, where with the way you're setting it up right now, where you're applying the force, you could like spam tap that key, and then it'll just keep pushing the thing, and it'll start getting faster and faster as you're pushing it. But the other thing you could do is you could, in your press key, you could set a linear velocity on it in whatever direction you want to go, and then it'll just keep going in that direction. And then in the released key action, you set that linear velocity back to 0, and then that will stop it.
One small correction, William. I think it's pronounced using the force, not anything else. So.
My apologies for this grievous oversight.
General grievous, I think. I'm sorry. Please go on.
People are killing me today. All right. That, or it's, pain meds, whatever. So what is the distance between our NPC and our player that we want to say is close enough to count for our collision here. I'm going to say 1.5. Y'all aren't answering my questions today. I'm just going to answer myself. It's fine. Now we do an if statement. So if what? If no one talks to me. I was gonna say I would feel like
If the distance is less than max distance.
distance is less than max distance. Okay. And put in my end so I don't lose it later. What happens if distance is less than max distance?
Either output distance or say distance.
Output. Okay. We're just checking that it works. And then else if what? Let's just put it that way for now. So we're just gonna run and see if it works right now. So if my distance is less than my max distance and I have hit the Q key, it'll output something to my console. Right? This is the thought. Running my game. Characters over here. Spam my speed key. My distance did not. I have totally run through the man and nothing is showing up on my console. So my guy is going to go sliding off my screen here. Oh, I didn't hit the Q key. That's why. Ha! Run it again. I forgot a step. I'm used to the other way of checking collisions and just having it work. Q. Oh, look, there's distances. Now I'm way far away and there's no distance being done. Q. Spamming all the keys at the moment. This is taking more hand-eye coordination than my non-gamerness is used to.
Oh no, I put
this guy ping-ponging around the screen is actually ridiculously fun.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Amanda, I put the release key code to stop the movement.
Yes, I haven't added that to mine yet, but I'm having fun ping-ponging my guy around the screen. So we know that that code works, so I'm going to take out that output. In our lesson, our output should be something from our quest giver, okay? So for this one, you know, there's Andy and his evil Lord Bunnykins. I need to make a better beer. Please find 5 barrels. I spelled barrels wrong. It's cool. Okay. And then I also need to have all of my barrels show back up on the screen. I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to copy the chunk that all says, well, hide. And what is my code to make them all show back up? Action, it's not hide, it is show. Right? Oh, why don't we like the potions? They're not up there. Okay, my code is different than yours at the moment, so don't mind me. My potions are not created. Up where PC is. Therefore, I can't use them in a different action, so I need to fix that. Whoop. Spot. Ooh, what did I just do? That was fun. No idea what I just did. Hopped around the screen. Cleaning up the sample code here real fast, guys. Sorry about that.
Are you writing the release key code?
I am not. What I am doing, I was showing the potions
Okay.
once I run into my quest giver, but this code had them created inside create game instead of up outside of all of the actions.
Okay.
Use them again inside the other action, right? So I had to go up and throw them at the other so that they will show. Gonna check if everything looks good now. Yeah, cool. So now they should all show correctly when I run into my quest giver. I want to make sure that part's all done before we play with making sure I don't run off the screen. So I'm going to run real fast. Check. Oh, come back. Yay, I need a better beer. Please find 5 barrels. And my 5 barrels showed up on the screen as expected. Excellent. Yeah, so let's go ahead and put in released key to make us stop, right? And I am going to copy chunk of code here. I just don't want to have to write it all out again. I am copying the from integer space code down to my else if code equals event :right out of my pressed key, because I will need most of that in the released key, right? I still need to save that which key was pressed. I need to be able to use those 4 keys. I am not going to worry about ending my jump or ending the queue in any way. Does that make sense to everybody? So I am only adding up, down, left, and right to my released key because those are the directions that have been sliding all over the place. I'm not going to worry about hey, this looks nice. Somebody got fancy and used an or statement. Adam got fancy.
I got a little lazy, actually, but fancy is a good word for it.
Dana is asking if you could copy the max distance code in.
Sure. Totally can.
What's the code for release key? What are you doing at the release of the up key or the right key?
I haven't done anything yet.
Okay.
I'm going to. set. Hang on, I can't talk and paste at the same time. One moment. Okay. I'm going to set velocity to 0.
You mean linear
Release
velocity?
key. Linear velocity, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I actually think I might just steal Adam's code. Let me look at Adam's code here.
You might have to change it from Y to Z instead for the motions.
Oh, are you
just because-
flying? Not.
Yeah, I'm yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
right.
By the way, if it's not clear, this kind of process that we're all going through, where we're kind of sharing code and sending it back and forth and stuff like that, this is stuff that I love to do with my students when I teach as well, because it's kind of more fun to code with friends. And so, like, you know, as a teacher, sometimes computer science has this like reputation as being like this solo activity, but like, if you're willing, encouraging your students to kind of work together on stuff is a lot of fun. So don't feel shy about being social with computer stuff. That's my pointless interjection. Sorry.
You're fine. Yeah, I'm totally just stealing yours. I've decided yours looks better than mine.
It's based
like
on
it.
something William showed us last year. So
Yeah, well, I like it. Okay, so forget what I said. Release key. Wait, what am I doing? Yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm going to just steal Adam's code. I'm directly stealing Adam's code out of Slack. And then I'm changing where it says Y to Z, because my people are not flying up and down. My people are walking left, right, forward, back. So that is what I've added to release key.
probably also going to want to add the pressed key one too.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Did you do
motions.
linear velocity?
Yes, linear velocity for the press key section as well, not just the release key.
I want to see what happens if I run this.
I don't know that you'll move.
I don't know. We're gonna see right now. Okay, I'm holding my up. I move much slower. Yeah.
But you should, I guess, I don't know if you're accelerating if you hold it down.
So
it's worth
I go
considering
a
how
finite distance.
it's worth considering how your stuff is set up right now in order to get how
Yeah.
what's happening here. So what's happening right now is you're moving by applying force to your object, right?
Mhm.
And as we've seen, it's possible to repeatedly apply force to it in order to make it go faster, right? So you could just rapidly tap your right arrow and you would just keep moving to the right, to the right, to the right, and you would go faster and faster and faster as your force just keeps adding momentum onto this thing. But now you've added something extra to your released key that makes that impossible now, because in order to go right or right or right or right or just, you know, right, that if you want to spam that button, you have to push it and then release it and push it again and release it and push it again. But now when you're releasing it in between each one, you're nixing its velocity because that new code that you have in the release key kills its speed. So now you can't accelerate it anymore. It's always 0 and then you give it a push. That's why you're going a finite distance each time, is you have just enough force to go that itty bitty little bit. And then
Well,
so
fine.
is there any way
I can't cheat? Ooh.
You actually can. The pressed key code is also in there in the same message, but you know.
I mean, how much cheating do I want to do today?
Oh,
it's not cheating, it's collaborating.
Collaborating.
But is there any way to sort of stop applying the force and let the momentum do its thing?
Don't let Stefik hear that you want to stop applying the force.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
So yeah, so the way this is set up right now, remember that when you're applying the force in this action pressed key, it only triggers once when the key is pressed down. So right now, if you apply a force and press key, it gets that one push of force, and then no other force is applied until you release it and press it again, right? So that is just one push, and then you're just letting the momentum do its thing.
Okay, so this is like a full stop kind of thing. Like the set linear velocity to 0, 0, 0 would be like a full stop.
That's right. Yep. You are saying whatever momentum it has right now, set that momentum to 0. When you say set linear velocity to 0.
My ship is going to crash if I do that, but anyhow. Interesting problem. Okay.
Velocity wrong. There we go. Whoa! He moves fast. Oh, I have a very zippy alien now. It's amazing when you have linear velocity.
Yeah, I had to turn that down a bit.
He's very zippy. Super zippy. I love it. This is great. He is much easier to control than with force, though. He's not.
Unless you collide with something and then it just keeps applying the force until you repress.
Yeah, I just bounced off a wall. It was amazing. I appreciate bouncing off a wall and just sliding off my screen right now. What did I just bounce off of? I don't even know there's something there.
I know that the physics stuff is just a smidge buggy, but I still admit that I find it deeply fun to play with.
It's real fun.
It is fun, yeah.
I think if I gave this game with a little bit of sound added to my students.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's fun to say.
Just bouncing off stuff.
Because of the new 3D audio stuff built into the scene editor, you can actually, even though we've put in visual things, you can just as easily add in an audio file and you can give it the same physics properties that you give anything else. So you can like have your game manipulate a sound that like bounces off stuff and automatically calculates Dopplers, it flies away and stuff like that. And you can put that in speakers all around your computer and have it literally feel like it's flying all around you by default. Anyway.
Yeah. So, okay. So the point of this lesson was supposed to be just adding the cue and that distance comparison. Have we all figured out how to start and stop our character?
Shut the door, please.
Offer.
Yeah, shut the door, please.
Yeah, I just moved my linear velocity down to 10. You're fine, Mike. It happens. So if we all figured out those 3 things for right now, we're starting our character moves, our character stops, and if we're close enough and hit Q, the quest starts. Have we met our 3 objectives? No one's crying. That's a good sign. Excellent. And we're only 15 minutes behind. Woohoo! Considering we added to our lesson, I think we're doing great, folks. Does anybody need a short break? Great. How about 10 minutes?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So I have 9:25. We'll be back.
I'm back.
Running into some weird things, but mostly doing okay.
Running into some weird things. What kind of weird things, Adam? You're muted, dude.
Whoops. Mostly fine. I was running into a situation where in my game, there was force being applied to my spaceship as it was flying forward, but there was no object in front of it. So I wasn't sure why. And I think it's just the nature of the meteors that I was using. And I think I've resolved it. I just had to spread things out a little bit more. But it was crashing into the empty space that I had designed to have it fly through instead of just going through it.
I had an issue yesterday. I had put the campsite ring down and I had applied like unmovable to it at first. I decided I didn't want that, but that wasn't going away. Didn't matter how I reset it. So I had to actually delete it and re-add it. So fun time.
Yeah.
All right, let me find the person we're looking at. Yes, somebody's talking.
Hey, Amanda, this is Cole.
Hey, Cole.
You know, what was it? Rotation. That's as you go, like push down your character player to the right, to the left, and stuff like that. And you know, try to make the character face the way that's he or she is going. And you know, we can use the rotation, but then we need to kind of do lots of stuff to find out which way the player is facing in the first place, and then calculate that to the right side, left side rotation, you know, 90-degree rotation and stuff like that. But I was just wondering that if Quorum has certain way for the player to say, let's say that rotate to the north, rotate to the west, and stuff like that. Do we have that?
My gut is going to say no, that everything is degree based.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So there is one alternative that's available. It won't solve the problem of I have a model and I can't tell which way is the front on it. So in that sense, if you're trying to get a student to take their model and say, I want this to point north, they still have to know which way the model is facing to begin with. But if you want that sort of like sort of turning in a direction rather than using rotate commands that are, you know, the normal way we do it, where it's you have an axis, so it's like that sort of skewer running through it, and then you like spin it around the axis. You can set things using yaw, pitch, and roll, like you can in the editor.
That makes sense. So
you could use that to
yeah.
Using the yaw can be useful for saying, I'm gonna rotate this so it's, you know, 90 degrees on the yaw, so it's gonna point in this direction, and then depending on which way the front of the model is, that might be north or it might be west, but it lets you easily orient it without having to worry about whatever previous rotation it had.
Do we need to use the directional model or just a regular model?
What do you mean? I'm not sure if I'll.
I get, well, so when my character at the beginning stage facing me, for example.
Sure.
And then the order yaws is gonna based on that direction, or it's gonna, you know, automatically correct itself to the
It'll be based on the direction of the original model. So if you have, if you give it a yaw of 0, it'll face the direction that it would have if you hadn't touched anything at all, right? Just the default way it was facing. And then setting it to like yaw 180, it'll rotate 180 degrees. So now it'll be facing the opposite direction of how it started.
I got it. Thank you.
No problem.
I haven't used the yaw and the pitch and whatnot before. So if you're doing it that way, and let's say I have my up key, right? He's walking away from me at that point. If I then say with that set yaw 180, will he continuously spin around at that point if I
So
slam the up button, or
no,
will
he
he keep pointing
because
away from me?
he'll keep pointing the way that you oriented him. The reason for that
Okay.
is that's part of what makes it convenient compared to
Cool.
like using the normal rotate thing. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't care about what the start point was. It'll just say wherever you're at now, just rotate it again. But the yaw is something that it has an absolute value. It's something that there is a direction that your model normally faces. And saying yaw 180 is spin it around 180 degrees of its normal orientation, its default orientation.
Excellent. So that's how you could very easily have him facing whichever way your key.
Yeah, so yeah, like if you wanted to in the press key that you've got where you're already setting your velocity in the different directions, you could set the yaw as part of that set yaw pitch roll function there. You could just set it to be whatever direction you want him to face, and it'll look like he's pointing in the direction he's moving.
I've actually done that already. I had to fiddle with that this morning. So I have an example of that if anybody wants to.
That's great. Is it working for you?
It is. There's something weird about it that I just noticed. But for the most part, it's working fine. I think I know the reason why it's doing what it has to do. I had to switch my roll on my up and down arrow keys to do something weird, but
Gotcha.
It would be great that if you can post it into the Slack.
I can do that too. Yes.
Thank
Let
you.
me copy that. So I took the thing that I set up earlier with the key code left. I've added a reticle for my player character, and I've set it to be able to turn on and off. But I wanted to make a change to the way that the ship is oriented when I go and hit the up arrow key or the down arrow key or whatever. So I have at the end of my event key left, right, up and down, player set yaw pitch roll to positive yaw 0 0. And then I have that for the right side is negative yaw 0 0. And here's where something weird is happening. I think I know the answer to that. But for up and down, if I used the same variable positive yaw just because I wanted it to be the same number. This should really be positive pitch, but I mean, I understand that it's going to the same number, so it doesn't matter. But I had the pitch change, and at the same time, I had to set the roll to 180 so that it wouldn't have the ship upside down when it's flying, which was weird because originally I just had to have it set to 0 as its default for the other spots.
That's funny. How large is that positive yaw? Is that enough that is it like 90 degrees or more?
It's so if we go up, positive yaw is 200 degrees to give it a nice 20-degree angle from the direction that it would be pointing otherwise. And then negative yaw is 160, so 20 degrees opposite.
Gotcha. So the pitch is kind of funny compared to how the yaw and the roll work. Yaw and roll are both measured from 0 to 360 degrees. You can, go beyond that, but it'll just kind of roll back over into that area, right?
Okay.
But the pitch is different in that the way that pitch usually works, it actually really only goes between negative 90 and 90. It's a 180 degree semicircle as opposed to the other two. And the reason for that being is that if you exceed that, what you end up doing is you're no longer just looking up or down. You go past a point where you start looking down in the other direction, if that makes sense. It's confusing, but let me describe it this way. If you have a pitch of 90, right, you are looking straight up, right? There's no way to look further up than to go 90 degrees. If you look 80 degrees, you look down a little bit forward. If you go to 100, you actually also look down a little bit, but you look down in the other direction because you've sort of crossed the apex of the pitch. The reason why the math works out that way is not intuitive, and honestly, it's not even super intuitive to me exactly why the math works out that way. But that's why you end up getting this weird behavior where it feels like it flips, is because it actually doesn't like smoothly roll all the way over. When you do that, all that the math is doing is just figuring out what the angle of the thing should be. It doesn't actually like flip it onto its back like you would with the roll.
Okay. So like, I'll just show you what it looked like on my end when I ran it the first time. So I've got my little ship here and I move it, it goes up and down. I don't have it quite figured out to where it has a diagonal yaw or pitch. I think I have to do an and in one of those.
Yeah.
But when I don't do it with the 180 degrees, let's just say this is 0 instead. Let's see if it'll repeat what I had happen earlier. So it's flying upside down for some reason.
Flips over now. That is
when
really
it goes
funny.
up and down, which is real weird. I think it's cool, but it's not exactly what I expected.
Basically, the gist of what I'm getting at is the reason why the math works out that way is super unintuitive. The way that you have fixed it there is mathematically correct, even if it's unintuitive, but that's a really good solution. It looks really good.
Okay. All right.
What if I used with my ship, if I continue to use the force and that way? Would that also work, or do I have to use pitch, yaw, and roll?
What do you mean? Is it possible for the force to rotate?
To rotate and fly the ship, or no?
Potentially yes, although it's going to be tricky to do it that way because you'll have to you can't just apply the force to the entire center of the model. It needs to be done to points of the model if you want it to rotate, because if it's just done to the center, the entire model receives it evenly, right? So
yeah, okay, so I've got a weird ship.
Yeah,
it's a cargo vessel.
yeah, the using the yaw pitch roll way of rotation basically just sidesteps physics altogether. Physics is absolutely capable of rotating stuff. Doing so in a really carefully controlled way is tough, because the level of control you have with physics, even though it is possible to say, I want to apply a force to a model and I want to do it at a specific point on the model. And you could like do that where it's like, I'm going to, instead of just applying this to the center, I'm going to like do it to the front half of the ship. And that will not only propel it upwards into the air if you did it from below, it'll tip the front half of it, because that portion of it is receiving more force than the back is, right? The back is only receiving the force that is sort of left over from the front pulling it upwards.
And you can do that currently with the physics engine?
You can do that with the physics engine. It's going to be really tough to do it in a way that's going to feel good. But it is possible. I've never tried to do it, so I don't know exactly what's going to end up coming out. My suspicion is that if you try and do it that way, you're going to have a really tough time fine-tuning it so that if the force isn't enough, you're not really going to have any impact. The thing's just going to like maybe bump just a tiny bit, but gravity is just going to correct it right away. If you do too much, it's just going to start doing some sick flips, which, cool, but probably not what you're looking for, right?
How would I do it even just angular something, angular momentum, angular velocity?
You could do it through using the angular momentum. Yeah. That's probably the easier way to do it, is to apply either using angular momentum to give it a continuous spin, and you could just like do that for a constrained amount of time. Or you could apply torque to it, which is similar to applying force, but it's going to be the angular momentum as opposed to the as opposed to sort of the directional that the force is doing.
Okay. Anywho, I can actually show you, maybe if you have another minute, what's happening so far on the screen, if anything at all.
Sure. I mean, that depends on Amanda. Or I forget what time we were starting back up here.
We are actually supposed to have been started up already.
Oh, okay. So I can show you later. No big deal.
Yeah, that'd be all right. The first part here is going to be kind of looking for some of your own sounds, because we're going to move into starting background music. So adding some music to our code. I will throw the noisy boyfriend out the window. Throw the link into Slack, and let's check out what we're doing this session. So background music really isn't that many steps for background music. Music and sound when we trigger on events is a little bit more complicated, but background is going to be really, once you find what you want, you start it and let it go. So first thing is to find some music that you like. There is a site, https freepd.com. Best of whoever looked this up knowledge. All of the work is under Creative Commons License 0. Whenever you're messing around with building your own game and designing things, you really do, just for your own ease of sanity, want to look for things that are under license 0. That means you can just use whatever it is that you've grabbed. So that's a site. That freepd.com is a good site for the music. The best format for songs when we're putting them into Quorum is OGG, so .ogg. And if the file you found is not already in that format, you can use Audacity to convert it to that format. So that's really what we're going to take a few minutes here to do, is just to find some background music for your game. And I will throw that website into Slack as well, just so you don't have to go find the lesson if you don't want to. And why don't we just give everybody, 10 minutes to play around and find some music that they might want. And then if you can't get it converted to OGG, we can take some time to figure that out too, okay? So I'm gonna set a little timer. We'll set that as a task and go from there. Sound good for the start? Stop share, because you don't need to necessarily look at the screen while I'm doing it, because I'm trying to figure out where Audacity saved the song after I converted it. So give me another minute for that so that I can load a song in too. And if you haven't found anything you absolutely love, something that's close enough is fine, because you can just literally swap out the file after you get things started.
If somebody can help me with this, I have a problem with the NPC because I created a variable called item 3D NPC, I think, which means for non-playing characters. But I always receive the error that the item 3D item with cannot be matched with the data NPC.
Have you checked to make sure that you're using that find item 3D by name call to try and find the NPC? Is that right?
Yes.
Have you made sure that the text that you have in there is the same case sensitivity as the name that you have for it in the game?
Yeah, actually, I copied it off straight from the tutorial.
Gotcha.
The portion. Yeah.
Hey, would anybody be able to pull me out for a breakout? I know Stefik was going to try and help me if I had this problem again where I couldn't get Quorum to come back up, and I can't. I actually swung by my office to get my work computer, and I can't even find Quorum. Apparently, that my IT guy put on the laptop. I have no idea where it's at. It's not on the desktop. Quorum.
Yeah, I could jump in a breakout with you.
Okay, what room?
I actually emailed you and said I was able to just maybe a half hour ago. It sounds like you're out, so I'll
yeah,
go.
I went to work to go ahead and try and grab my laptop. And...
You're good, dude. I'll just put you in one, and then I'll meet you there in just a second.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Do most people have a song to work with now? Maybe another minute.
Yes, I do have a song.
Excellent. I found my song and have done the thing that needs to happen. So the first thing we're going to do is walk through where to put your song. Okay, so let me do this thing. Okay, there's my possum. He's my baby. That was Feroce. Feroce is gone. So is Greg. Those of you who know my possums. So if you go into whatever your file manager, file explorer might be, I have to jump through a couple more hoops on mine because not everything's set up standard anymore. And you just go into your documents. You should have a file called Quorum Studio, unless you changed that when you downloaded Quorum. Okay, if you've changed that file path, then it's wherever it lives for you. But default, it should fall into your documents. And I have several games now. You find the game project that you're working on, open it, and you put your song file into the resources folder. Okay? You could make a new folder that says sounds. You could, however you want to structure that, that then becomes part of your game. Okay? So now, once you've put your song in your resources folder of your game, okay? Everybody familiar with how to do all of those steps? Excellent. You can even just copy the sound in. You could cut and paste, however that works best for you. Now, I think this is where Quorum makes us restart.
Go over to 1.
Am I correct in this one?
Actually, you can just close the project and reopen it.
Close the project itself and reopen it. Thank you. That makes life a little bit easier. So I'm going to close my project. If you don't want to fight closing your project, you could close Quorum. Close your project and reopen it. Oops, wrong button. Wrong button again. I'm good at that apparently today. Now, collapse these guys, make them go out of the way. If I navigate down to my project on the project tree, I'm just going to show you that this is where your song now lives. I'm navigating into the resources file. I have my tile sets, and then I have my background.ogg. Okay? Everyone more or less okay with those steps? Everyone able to now see where their song ended up? Thanks, Tim.
And, just in case somebody needs an OGG file, that's one of my that we can use.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you just want a quick and easy file to grab, go ahead and steal Tim. Sounds good. Okay. Now I'm going to check our act. Oh, I hate this little bar. It gets in the way. Apparently I ate the lesson. That's fine. It happens. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this is a long song, probably, not just a quick little chink or bump or somebody has their screen reader yakking at us. Jafar, do you mind muting? If you can hear me. Okay. Because this is a long song, we're going to load to stream as opposed to just loading the audio file. Okay. Just think of that as, you know, when you're streaming audio online or your shows, you don't wait for the whole thing to download before you use it, right? When they're small sound files, you know, if you're doing a bump or a clink or any of those kinds of things, just loading the audio, it's fine. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is create our audio object. And we're going to do that in your game, in your source code, so your main.quorum. Okay. And I suggest creating it up under class main is game, just in case you want to manipulate this file somewhere else. If you want to have it be able to be turned on and off of key presses or anything like that. We've learned creating our objects up here under class main allows them to be used in any of the future actions, right? So I'm going underneath my rocks that I have made, and this is an audio file. So we're going to start with capital A, audio, then a space. And I'm going to name this background because that makes sense, right? And I'm not going to be putting in any background images, so I don't think I'm going to want to use that variable twice. That's up to you. But this way I remember what I need. It turned green. I also have my little yellow box telling me I have forgotten something. If I do Alt-Enter, it's added the library for me, which is libraries.sound.audio, if anybody wanted to know that. So we've now created our variable, we've created our object. Okay, so we're going to go into create game, that action, which is our static. This is our static action. These are the things that are going to stay, that are just going to be there when we start up our game, right? And we're going to come down. I'm going to put mine right after loading the scene file. And that's just because it makes sense to me that I've loaded my scene and I'm going to get my audio up and running. Okay. You can put it anywhere in this action that you want, right? So, who has any thoughts on how we're going to start this process of loading to stream our audio file? No thoughts?
I think it was load or load to stream. I forgot which one it is.
You're going to start, you're right. Well, we're going to use load to stream, which is going to be the action name, but we're going to start with the variable name. So I'm going to write back. Computer to pay attention. I'm going to write background. and then my colon, which brings up our code completion. That's always helpful too. So I'm going to start typing load. And you see that we have here load, and load to stream. Those are our two choices. Several types of load, but it's just showing you the different parameters that load could take or that load to stream could take. Okay, so it doesn't actually matter which one of these three that I have on my screen, load to streams, I choose. They are actually all three the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. And I have an open parenthesis. And now you're going to type in exactly the file path of your sound. Okay. So open quotation mark, and mine is in my resource file, resources file, / and then the name of my song. .omg, close quote, close parenthesis. Now, oops, I spelled background wrong. That'll be a problem later on. Fix that real fast. If you made some kind of song file for your songs to live in, yours would be resources / song / whatever, right? Does that make sense for everybody, how we find that file path? All right. So now I've loaded it. What do you think we're going to do with it?
Make it play.
Make it play. Now with sorry, I was looking at the rest of the lesson here because there's a couple ways to do it. Okay, so we can just do, after you've loaded it, we're going to do background again, or whatever name you've chosen. And it's real hard. It's play is our action, and then open close parenthesis. Okay. And now, in our update action, which we haven't used a lot of, in our update action, we're going to use the background again, and we're going to call stream. Oop, there we go. Because how often is our update action called? How often does that action go? Remember from yesterday? Every frame, exactly. So this is a repeat loop, right? Our update action is a repeat loop. It's a continuous repeat through the entirety of our game. So every frame, it's going to check for the next chunk of sound to play. So we don't have to write a second repeat to do that because we're using the game engine. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, I know I'm not sharing, so that's going to real fast. Andrew got music. All right, I'm going to play mine, see if I've messed anything up early on mine.
And when you have
hear my music?
show us the action create game lines. I think I missed a line.
Sure can. So it's just
At play. Okay, yeah.
Oh, just and then you do have to play. And somebody got an error. What does your error say? Either share screen or you can dump to Slack. What do you feel like doing for your error? Runtime exception.
Runtime exception what?
I was reading the start of the error that was put into
Yeah, but what's the complete error message? Because
so it says error .lang.runtime section could not load sound file with path.
Wrong path.
Yep, exactly. So let's check what path you have. You don't have to put in, I don't know if you put in the entirety of that path. You only have to put in from resources on for your path. And if you didn't put the song actually in the tile sets folder, then you don't need tile sets as part of your path. I put mine outside of the tile set.
I've got music working too, for the record. I had it working
Excellent.
a long time ago.
Does everybody else have music? Any errors we need to talk through?
Yes, it doesn't loop though. It plays once and quits.
It plays once and quits. Oh no. Whatever should we do to fix that? Which is almost an actual question because I have forgotten how to make it play for infinity.
Doesn't the update function do that if you put the stream call?
So if you put the...
It works for me.
But does it play and then stop when it is?
I don't know. I don't think it does that because that's the whole point of update.
Yeah, I typically made mine right at 22 seconds with a fade, and then it should fade back in, just so I could test that.
I'm going to do something stupid and see what happens. Okay.
Now I'll let you do something stupid first. Then I can do it.
I'm going to check a theory here. I'm going to put play into the update, but my thought is that it's going to restart my song every second, which will be obnoxious, but we're going to check it out. Not background. I'm moving my play command, my play action into the update. I don't think this is going to work the way I want it to work. Ooh. Well, it has continued to play. My person can move. So, Tim with the shorter song, can you check that play actually repeats? Because my song's something like 3 minutes long.
Yes, I will. It's running now.
Thanks.
I'm surprised that actually worked. I'm sorry.
Right, Co?
Yeah. Yeah. I was. So is that
it functions exactly as I wanted it now.
It's almost like I've been teaching this for a little while and might know how some of the things work.
I have a problem building my game because when I build, it says build successful in how many seconds, but I can't see the game on my desktop.
Oh, has it gotten minimized somehow and hanging out in your taskbar at the bottom?
I don't think so because I already put the music in. So if it's minimized, I should hear some music.
You should
coming
be
out of
hearing. Excuse me,
Yeah,
you're right.
I'm
You
not
should be
hearing
hearing it.
anything. Yeah.
Would you like
I'm not
to
hearing
share
anything.
screen real fast and see if we
I
can?
try. I'm not very good in Zoom, but I'll try to show my screen.
So sharing screen is Alt S when you're in Zoom.
When you're in focus in the Zoom window, it is Alt S. Just your screen sharing it to tab over a few times to the point where you want to share. I just do pick all and press enter.
Yeah, you should do just sharing your desktop, especially with Quorum Studio, so that we can see when the game window pops up. That was the problem I had yesterday with the game not showing up.
Yeah, so I'm sharing my Quorum Studio screen. Can you see my Quorum Studio screen?
I sure can.
Alright, so now I'm gonna press Control R. And yeah, it says build successful in 0.4
You
seconds.
have a runtime
Error.
Your file path. You have it from assets, and your main folder is called resources.
So I must put it in my resources file.
Well, it has to be in your game somewhere, and I don't see it in scenes or source code.
Okay.
Also,
I think I should restart my Quorum Studio again. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think I forgot to restart Quorum Studio because I created the assets folder.
On line 56 as well, you have your path, but you don't have the file extension at the end. Make sure that has that .ogg at the end.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you. I'll do it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that.
How do I stop share screen?
You have not stopped, but I can also kick you off if it doesn't. Oh, I probably
Which screen?
can't. There
Which
it goes.
screen reader? Okay, got it.
Yep, it worked. We're good. Okay. Any other questions about our background music? I'm gonna double check that was all we really needed on this one. Yep, cool. So
curiosity wants, did Tim's restart? If he said it.
Yes, mine restarts, my character moves.
See,
excellent.
I would have thought listening in and not having the code in front of me that the song every second and just keep restarting. It's amazing that it actually lets it play through.
It's because the load to stream is actually working. But yes, I expected to hear like a note repeat consistently. But
Yeah, the streamed audio is smart enough to at least know that if I'm already playing and you tell me to play again, then it doesn't need to do anything because it's playing. And when it stops, if it then gets a play command after that, it'll repeat. The other option was, instead of just calling play on the update loop constantly, when you loaded it in the create game, you could also have done audio : set looping or enable looping, I think it is.
Right.
And if you turned the looping on, then it would do it and you wouldn't have to call play continuously. But that doesn't mean that at some point you would need to call stop or it'll just go forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or until the game ends.
So the basic steps that we did of creating the audio object and loading the file are the same for any of the sounds you add to your game. Okay, so all of the extra, if you want a walking sound or flying or shooting noises, all of those are going to be the same basic steps. Does that make sense to everybody? It would just be a difference as to where you play it. So if I were to load a sound and say, with one of my collisions, if I run into this thing, play the noise, that's how you would make the like running into something noise. Or I know I'm going to add a noise that will be different if I'm on my stone path versus my dirt, right? So the collision with dirt versus the collision with stone will be a thing. Makes sense to everybody. We have what, 10 minutes until lunch, right? Yep. Do we want to stop this a little bit early? Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns?
William, one quick question.
Sure.
How do I do text string processing? I'm getting a collision, and if my object name contains the word quest, I want the game to be over. So I can't remember where the string processing routines are.
If you have a text variable, you can place a colon right after its name, just like you could with other objects. And that will allow you to access its methods, like the contains function probably does what you're looking for. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, but how do you, how do you get the autocomplete to work? In the sense, I say text colon and I get a whole list. Now, when I want to choose the function, do I press the tab key, the space key? What do I do?
I believe the enter or
it's the enter key.
The enter
space work
key.
as well, do you know?
Space might also work. I haven't tried it, but enter does.
I would have to double check that one.
Didn't work for me, but let me try.
It is not tab because I really want to hit tab to make it work, and I always just end up splitting my words in half.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I
this
didn't
happens
realize.
to me.
I'll that's really easy to change. So I'm gonna just add something to our notes that we should make it so that tab works for autocomplete.